Are you a home grower looking for a little bit of help? Are you ready to learn as much as you can about your favorite hobby? The Homegrown Helpers brings you informative interviews from experienced growers that have taken the next steps in their journey and decided to help you grow top quality cannabis all in your home. Now welcome in our host, Rob Smith, along with this week's Homegrown Helper. Hey guys and gals out there in Grow Your Own Land. Are you ready for this week's grow tips and tricks from another homegrown helper? All right, me too. This week we have Russell Pace on the line from the Cannabis Horticultural Association. You can find him on Instagram at CHA Science. And as that handle would indicate, Russell approaches things from a very scientific viewpoint. If you followed along or plan to, you'll learn a lot on a very biological and deep level. So I'd encourage you to follow along at CHA Science on Instagram, and you can learn a lot. I sure have just by giving him a follow and reading all the posts that he writes in very great detail about cannabis and how to properly grow, support, and all sorts of things that he does. So this week we need to basically thank our Grow Pass partners, and those guys are Sohum Living Soil and Mammoth Microbes. Mammoth has just come out with a new product, a biocontrol, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, as well as their head product, Mammoth P. But Sohum Living Soils is a all-in-one nutrients infused in with the soil, so all you have to do is add water. You don't even need to pH that water. So we'll get to a little bit more about each one of those later, but listeners for Sohum can save 10%, and our members can save 20% by joining at mygrowpass.com. So of course we have to ask you to rate and review the podcast. We've been really getting some amazing submissions on our reviews, so I want you to keep it up, and thank you for all that you've done for us so far. Also, if you are looking to hire a consultant to help you overhaul a room, troubleshoot a specific problem, or just need some guidance, a professional to bounce some questions off of, maybe you need vacation coverage. End of summer is almost here. It's time to take a little break, but you don't want to lose those plants that you have growing. Let us help you find the right consultant for your job. Reach out to me at rob@thehomegrownhelpers.com, and we will help make an introduction for the consultant that's right for your job, your location, and your personality. Because we believe here at the Homegrown Helpers that learning from somebody that you can jive with makes the learning process a whole lot easier. So without further ado, we are going to get our guest in here, Russell Pace from Cannabis Horticultural Association. Welcome to the show, Russell.
Hey, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Awesome. So Russell, why don't you tell us where you're from and how long you've been in the growing cannabis game?
Yeah, sure. So I've been living in Humboldt County, California for the past 13 years now. And I've been growing for about 20 years. It's been 20 years. 1999 was when we started growing. So it's been quite some time now. And being in Humboldt's been great. You know, it's been really awesome. It
is the mecca of cannabis growing.
Yeah.
So where were you before Humboldt, though?
Oh, man. Well, that's a whole nother podcast. But I grew up in LA originally. There's a long backstory there. Maybe I could regale you with my celebrity fringe lifestyle another time. But my dad's from Virginia, so we moved back to Virginia for a long time. I ended up moving back to California for a few years, then bounced back to VA, got my bachelor's of science in geology at James Madison. Then I bounced back to California and worked as a geologist for a while, growing on the side, and just was jaded with capitalism to some degree and moved to Humboldt County, and I've been here ever since.
Jaded with capitalism sounds like you will fit right into the growing cannabis market as well, huh?
Yeah, well, it was a good fit, and Humboldt County was a place of healing for me too, in many ways, for like healing allergies. There's, internal immune health issues I was dealing with. So it was sort of a healing process as well. So I found my little bubble here. So
awesome.
Been here ever since. So yeah.
Great. So tell me about your current grow setup, the size of the rooms, number of plants,
sure,
and the type of soil or the type of grow that you got going on.
Yeah. So for those that don't know me, I'm a consultant and I run this horticultural association. So many times I'm off just helping people with their other grows, but I do have my own home grow, my outdoor legal grow here. And I haven't done indoor growing it's probably been 5 or 6 years now. I've just kind of left indoor behind for, natural sunlighting and energy use. I do help people with indoor grows. But my own outdoor setup just consists of large raised beds, different shapes, rectangulars or trapezoids or squares, just where I can fit them. And but they're just raised beds with a mix of native and potting soil, usually heavily mulched with a variety of inputs I can source from my land. And that's basically the grow setup. I don't know if you have any further questions on that. I just try to grow trees. I just try to grow giant trees outdoors.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, nope, not really any questions about that. That's great. I figured that you were an outdoor grower being up there in Humboldt County.
Yeah, I did back when I was under 215. I did a lot of depping when I was involved with medical grows. Like I had a piece of land that I was doing a lot of light deprivation on. That's where I really specialized is in light deprivation as well, like small scale greenhouse production.
Yep.
Instead of a few number of really large plants, I focused on like really high numbers of small plants in greenhouses. That was the other sort of custom style I'm used to.
Okay. So give our audience something to drool over, though. You said you like to grow trees. What's your definition of a tree?
Well, it's a joke. I mean, anything that's 6 feet wide and 6 feet tall.
Boom. Well, those are some big plants.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, 6 feet isn't very tall, honestly, but 12 feet tall, they can get up big. But personally, honestly, I don't like the big plants anymore, the tall plants, because they're just hard to manage. I like them. They're easier when they're shorter and bushier. Everyone's got their own growing style, obviously, but I go for some of the varieties that sort of bush out more instead of grow tall. But yeah, that's just me getting older and being just lazy.
Yeah, personally, I never liked tending to my plants, having to stand on ladders, so.
Yes, having to have a ladder to get to the top of the plant to look to see if there's like a caterpillar eating the bud is time consuming. And I'm just trying to simplify it, it's always working smarter, not harder.
Yep, that's great. So, getting into the grow advice here, Russell, you have a grower that you're helping out, and what would be the piece of advice or the one thing that they would need to look at when it comes to improving overall plant health, or the one thing that needs to happen when it comes to overall plant health?
Yeah, I think, probably just starting to look at the plants have immune systems, and immune system health is sort of the paramount of paramount importance. Looking like, I think what's really coming to light over the past few years as I've been learning a lot about horticultural science is, we're trying to grow the plants too faster than their immune system can keep up. So the plants have these defense mechanisms inside with, these phytohormones that signal the plants to, build cell walls and other complex phytochemistry. And what's happening is that the plants, like if you give the plant too much nitrogen, it grows too fast, and the new leaf tissue doesn't have the calcium or silica in the cell walls. It might not have certain secondary metabolites, sort of send off chemical scents to deflect, pests from coming. And so what happens is that the plants are growing too fast, and the new tissue is susceptible to being eaten, and attacked either by pathogens or pests. So this process of understanding that, trying to balance growth with immune system health is, I think, sort of the holy grail to understanding how to properly grow.
So what are some signs that we're pushing our plants too fast? Anything you can give us to go with that?
Some signs. I think the number one problem is overuse of, over application of fertilizer, specifically nitrogen. Nitrogen always makes really dark, nice green, lush growth, but that can almost be a problem as well. If you look at a lot of, like, I've been studying for a few years now, the whole regenerative cannabis movement, and I'm looking at like all the farms in Oregon and California. And if you look at all these regenerative cannabis farms plants, they don't always look like really dark green. Like sometimes you see in like indoor grows, like these big indoor cultivation centers where the plants are like just like really richly, really dark green all through. These regenerative farms have like, it's more of that like in between. It's not light green, but it's this nice in between green where it almost looks like it could be going a little lighter, but it's not, but it's still nice and rich and lush. And this is just a read on plant health. I mean, you could send the leaf tissue in to get, studied and find out more info that way. But just from a plant health standpoint, and every varietal is different. I mean, some react differently to nutrients, so it's kind of hard to, quite pin that down as the one thing. But you just don't want to push your plants too hard. There's really no point, because you're just going to run into problems down the line with, sap sucking pests.
Yeah, the reason I was asking for a little specifics there is I had a grower talk to me about the lack of need to actually support your plants with bamboo stakes or trellis netting if you're letting your plant grow in a healthy, natural way.
Right.
He said that most plants are going to be strong enough to hold themselves up and support those buds, no matter how big they get, if the plant is grown in the right way.
Yeah, that's a good affirmation. That goes along with what, I'm saying. And I think part of that is varietal too. Like if you have an OG that's just really lanky, no amount of just natural process is going to support it when it, I guess it depends if it's like a clone or seed. Some seeds are usually significantly hardier, but if it's like from a clone, it's not really going to be supported. So that's sort of more of a, asterisk sort of caveat, into all this. But yeah, in general, for sure that a plant growing at its own pace, where it's, using its root systems to communicate with the microbiology in the soil, to extract nutrients, and it's growing at its own pace. It's capable of building, adding the silica and the calcium to the cell walls to build thick stalks and healthy stems. I think that's, because you see it on Instagram a lot, where there's some nice, huge outdoor plants that aren't supported, and they can weather the fall even with heavy buds on and heavy flowers on them. So I think there's something to be said about that. There's a lot of asterisks and caveats, with subtleties with all of that. But in general, I think that's an accurate statement.
Sure. Great. So you have a grower that's coming to you and basically is just looking for help to get more out of their limited plant counts, because we're generally all limited by the number of plants we can grow.
Sure.
And getting more out of those limited plant counts is generally important. So when it comes to increasing yield, what would your advice be to a grower? Yeah,
I think probably the keyword, if you want to do some research, would be looking up biostimulants. I think biostimulants are kind of the key word, because they encompass like a large, field of inputs. And, biostimulants could be anything from amino acids to fulvic acids to seaweed extracts to chitin. And these biostimulants are capable of stimulating the terpene and cannabinoid biosynthesis in cannabis. And that just means they boost, they're boosting overall secondary metabolites in the plant as well as yield. So, if you're looking at these things, chitin, I think, is a pretty important component to that. But, having a strong root system, they all it's hard to pick just one. because they all tie in together. Having a really strong root system, not overwatering, is really, really important. I can't tell you how many times people run into problems overwatering. And because, the plant's roots are going to actively search out, they need to grow, having the right mycorrhizal relationship, in the soil, because mycorrhizae, when how it works with mycorrhizae, they're like a network. So if the plant's root only goes 2 feet away, but it's connected to a mycorrhizal network that's extending 5 to 10 feet away, the mycorrhizae can pull nutrients along that whole network, like 5 feet away, and take it up to the plant. And so that's, the mycorrhizal network is pretty important. Just having a really strong root system, utilizing biostimulants. I suppose that it just depends on set and setting with your garden. If I try, I try to teach people to just use more and more. I've been trying, we still use certain products in the marketplace for sure, with people with potting soils and cocoa and all that. But, I've been getting more into trying to teach people how to just utilize closed loop systems where it's like you grow your own fertilizer. And so if you have these big outdoor plants and you have half an acre or something, and you have an area to grow comfrey and yarrow and nettle, you can just use the fertilizers from these plants. You don't need to go buy biostimulants or compost. You can just, utilize these phytonutrients from your own land that will provide all of that for you. I know I kind of went on a diatribe there.
No, it's all good. That's what this show is all about. The more education, the better.
Yeah, it's a complicated thing, but overall, the concept of biostimulation, they call them dynamic accumulators, even though it might be slight of a misnomer. But comfrey or nettle, yarrow, chamomile. Some of these plants have, their own secondary metabolites. They call them phenolic compounds, and they're actually capable of stimulating cannabis, the secondary metabolites in cannabis. So that's why, a lot of these regenerative growers are seeing really, really high overall cannabinoid and terpenoid levels in their tests. They're using these fermented nettles or just even extracts, and when they water in or it's mulched in the topsoil and breaks down and they're phytoavailable nutrients, it sort of acts as a lot of these biostimulant products on the marketplace, So it just depends on set and setting. If you have a little indoor garden and you just bought some, Happy Frog or Black Gold potting soil and it's, sort of inert, and you need to add something, you would probably, if you don't have access to, wild plants, then, you need to look at adding some biostimulants like amino acids or, fulvics and, other things to boost terpene cannabinoid levels. Yeah, I wish I could had one thing. I think chitin, if you want to look at one thing to add, maybe just chitin, frass, right? You're familiar with frass?
Yep, I am.
Yeah, frass is sort of a real powerful product. If you had to add one thing, there's other forms of chitin in shrimp and crab.
That's where I thought I had heard that from. I'm trying to place that word, but it is in seafood, right?
Yeah. Chitin. Yeah, chitin is a pretty powerful component to all this because it's part of that. I mentioned it the other day on Instagram, but it's part of this process called systemic acquired resistance.
Yep.
It's actually a little confusing. There's systemic acquired resistance, SAR, and then there's induced systemic resistance, ISR. And so the SAR is when a pathogen tries to attack the plant and the plant turns on its immune system to fight it. And the ISR is an induced immune system, sort of if you were feeding us vitamin C, or echinacea, that's a good one, echinacea, where it activates our immune system from the inside, that's ISR. And so chitin activates the SAR component. It mimics an attack, but it's also got some fertilizer capacity to it as well. And, I think it's a little bit complicated because it's chitin and then there's chitinase, and chitinase is the enzyme. And the chitinase enzyme is like a very powerful product that's used in several of these pest or pathogen control products because it breaks down the cell walls of pathogens and some of these insects. And so there's residual chitinase in the chitin that is, also playing into effect here. And so, if you're playing around with adding something to, help boost yields, chitin would be a really good one to add.
I think we can sum up your advice there with, taking care of the roots will take care of the fruits.
Right.
Does that sound about right?
Yeah. Taking care of building a strong, that's what I literally have that written down, build a strong root system.
Great. Yep.
The roots, and root health for sure.
Cool. So we're going to take a quick break for our sponsor here. First up, we have Mammoth Microbes. They aid cultivators in growing the healthiest, most productive crops possible while minimizing impacts on the environment. Mammoth develops highly effective organic microbial biostimulants that are scientifically proven to increase plant growth and plant-derived biocontrol products that prevent and control pests naturally. So they have two products, Mammoth P and the Mammoth Biocontrol Preventative Insecticide. So as part of being a member at mygrowpass.com, you not only get access to the 5K quarterly giveaway, which is coming up on October 1st. Mammoth has given $500 worth of their gear, along with a bunch of sweet swag, like those Mammoth hats that you see everybody trying to get their hands on, as well as a new member gift of samples of each of their product that will be sent out to our Bloom members only. So head on over to mygrowpass.com and sign up if you want to get some samples of their product that you can't get anywhere else. We also have Sohum Living Soils, friends of mine. They are giving you 10% off to all of our listeners at sohumsoils.com. And all you have to do is use the code GROWCAST10 at checkout for 10% off all of the living soil bags. Members can save 20% off, and they have given away 10 bags to our listeners, or our members, I should say, at mygrowpass.com for this 5K quarterly giveaway. A little bit about Sohum. Sohum Soils was created to take the thinking out of growing. With all of the liquid fertilizer on the market, consumers can be afraid to try and be a chemist when mixing nutrients. No need for that with Sohum. Just add plain water. That's it. They have a great chart that shows you the proper size container to ensure you get enough food to the plant for a full flower cycle by just adding that water. The soil is designed with beneficial bacteria and fungus, as well as macro and micronutrients. Set it and forget it. It's that easy. And as a personal user of Sohum Living Soils, I think it's a great product. I do have some tips for you. So if you do decide to purchase some, give it a shot. And you can email me at rob@thehomegrownhelpers.com, and I can help guide you based on my personal experience. So thank you to both our sponsors, Mammoth Microbes and Sohum Soils. And we're back with Russell. So Russell, do you have any unique grow tips or tricks that you'd like to share with the audience beyond what we've already talked about? You've supplied good scientific knowledge here. Any unique grow tips or tricks that can help our growers out?
Well, I guess it just depends on, what you're looking to do. One thing that's come up recently, I might as well just talk about, what comes up in the scope of the awareness of what questions people are asking me lately. Sure. I've been asked a few times, like, if you're dealing with longer flowering varietals, can you get them to sort of finish faster? That's been sort of interest.
Okay, yeah.
And so a nifty trick there is just, if you're dealing with like a sour diesel or something that's like a 9 or 10 week varietal, there is this trick in the industry that they use, and it's really simple. At the end of week 8 or 8.5 weeks, whenever you're ready to sort of harvest, you can if you let the soil dry out, the plant will essentially ripen significantly faster on the stalk. And you'll have a plant where all of the pistils are white. And then if you let, higher temperatures with drier soil, the plant will mature very rapidly and the pistils will turn brown and it'll look mature and it'll look finished. Now, there's some caveats. Obviously, like people might, balk it. Like, what are you doing? You're supposed to let this go to maturity. Yeah, but if you don't, there's a lot of different complexities regarding time management in people's lives for how this works. And so if you want, and you're not going to get a high of a yield, if you let it go an extra few weeks, your yield is going to be diminished. There's definitely problems, but definitely one of the tricks is to let it dry out at the end, and it'll ripen faster.
Cool. Those are great tips. So when you're working with a new grower, or I guess let's frame it like this, what character traits are most important for a person to possess in order to succeed at growing really top shelf cannabis?
Well, I think probably the most important traits are willingness to learn and study the horticultural science and to be patient with yourself as you go through like modifications of your own, logos, so to speak, regarding like learning new management practices. Something that worked before might not work now, or let's say you're trying to change your growing style from using horticultural oils to beneficial insects. It really takes a lot of, willingness to study how to make that shift. And scouting too, being really adept at having a keen eye to scout your plants, to see what's going on with your plants, to see if there's any changes in leaf coloring, after fertilizing, or if you haven't fertilized, see if there's what types of bugs, what types of insects are on your plants. Having a keen eye for scouting and a willingness to learn and study are probably the most important things.
Cool. Yeah. The keen eye comes with spending time in your garden and spending time with your plants so that you do notice when one of them might be a little more yellow than it was the day before, or, maybe has a spot on that leaf that wasn't there the day before. And if you're not in there regularly looking at the plants regularly, that you're not going to see that stuff. And then you have a bug infestation or a nutrient deficiency or a complete lockout in one plant. And it can happen in just one plant, right? Like you can feed everything the same way, but that one plant needed something a little bit different or flushed a little bit more. And then it just can change in a day or two. And if you're not spending time in there, you're going to miss those. And then it becomes a bigger problem and takes longer to deal with.
Yeah. Like the old, it's like attention. Your attention is paramount to success.
There you go. So to wrap up our regular interview here, and just to remind our listeners, we do wrap up this interview, and these interviews will always be free for everybody to download on your favorite podcasting platform. But we do have the 5 bonus questions that we post up on our website, and you only have to hand over your favorite email address to us in order to gain access to the next 5 questions. So we're going to wrap this up in just a couple more here with Russell. So Russell, you have, right now we're averaging about 350 to 400 downloads per episode. So you have 400 growers listening to you right now. What's the best or the last bit of advice that you'd like to give to everyone listening?
Work towards integrating beneficial insects into your environment. That's what I would say. If you can, I think that's the end game to this all. You have to manage your environment, but then all the beneficial insects do the work for you. And it's a little bit of a learning curve, but when it happens, you feel kind of like you're creator of this incredibly complex functioning ecosystem. It's pretty cool.
So dive into that just a little bit for us and talk about some of your favorite beneficial insects or what a few insects can do for you.
Well, right now, my favorite is the pirate bug, Orius insidiosus, and or is it Aureus? I think it's like tomato, but it's the minute pirate bug. And right now, that's the one that's most prevalent in my environment. And I spent a few years building my companion plant banker planting system up to have it around. And once a year, I'll introduce it. I'll purchase it, but because of all the flowering plants I have in my environment, it's about having a succession of flowering plants. It's hanging around now. And so that's my favorite right now because it's like constantly present and it's a generalist predator and it feeds on a lot of different pests. And then, of course, the predator mites are cool. I'm working on a banker plant project this summer with my friend Sink Angel, Matthew Gates. He's an entomologist. His handle on Instagram is Sink Angel. And we're doing this banker plant project with explosive ember pepper. It's sort of like an ornamental pepper. And these ornamental peppers, like the purple flash pepper, they produce pollen on their flowers, and predator mites can survive and reproduce and live off this pollen. So you can introduce these peppers at the right time, and if you maintain them properly, you can actually introduce predator mites onto these plants, and they will actually spread in your environment. You don't have to buy them anymore. So we're doing some research on that right now, which is super cool. So I don't know if you have any more questions on that, but yeah, just the companion planting, understanding companion planting. We have the database set up. I've set up this page on our Horticultural Association's membership for which plants attract which beneficial insects. And that's for our membership. And it's pretty complicated. I can't remember them all right now, but some of the other key plants are flowering, just the big flowering kinds like yarrow and even flowering carrot. Flowering carrots attract quite a array of beneficial insects. I've experimented. I probably have 40 different species of flowering plants on my acre here.
Wow.
Anywhere from yarrow to comfrey to chamomile to borage. A lot of calendula. I really like calendula. Carrots. Carrots are funny because it's you wouldn't think of it as being like a flowering plant, but they're pretty cool. You just kind of let them go and they go to seed and then they grow again. Anyways, so I don't know, that's like an outdoor scale, obviously.
Totally.
A little bit different when it's indoors. So that's a whole nother complex system to manage.
Well, yeah.
Green Life Production does it really well. If you want to see someone that does it really well, go check out Green Life Productions. They're over in Nevada, and he's got this big no-till indoor grow full of cover crops and companion plants indoors.
Cool.
And he's got a lot of cool stuff to check out with that.
I just spent a lengthy hour plus talking with Bug Lady Suzanne. Are you familiar with her?
Yeah.
She's the IPM guru that is just getting into the cannabis industry, and she schooled me on bugs and plants, and my head hurt after that hour phone call, but it was well worth it. We need to get her on a podcast somewhere sometime soon. So now, Russell, now's your chance to, as we wrap up, this is the last little bit we have for you. Tell our audience about what you have going on at the Cannabis Horticultural Association and your website and all the ways that they can connect with you and learn more from you.
Sure. Well, the website is www.chascience.com. And we have this tiered membership, $10, $50, or $100 a year. It's only $10 a year if you want to get access to the horticultural database. I'm building an online database of all the information that I'm assimilating. And, it's member driven too. So if, members have a question about, this insect, or we've added, members had, wanted to know about symphilins or, other less known predators like stink bugs and stuff. We're starting to assimilate that kind of data into the membership, but it has basically the full baseline data to run, growing for horticultural science. And we're building out a lot. It was really founded on integrated pest management, the IPM protocols, and it's blossomed into combining all of the ecological components of horticulture, like permaculture and agroecology and regenerative farming and biodynamic farming. And so it's really expanded quite a bit into those areas. I've been definitely the last 2 to 3 years been heavily involved with documenting the companion planting and beneficial insects. That's really been my greatest area of research and experimentation, is with beneficial insects and companion planting. And so, I have quite a bit to offer in terms of information regarding those. So, check it out. And we're really excited because, it's member driven, and we need you guys to support us. And as we grow, we can share this information on a larger platform. And we just did, people want to know about the dynamic accumulators, like how to make their own fertilizers at home. And there's a lot of information on the internet about, this, comfrey is what nutrient levels and this and that. And so we're actually using membership money to get a fertilizer analysis. So we just got it back. We did our first one with comfrey. So now we have a fertilizer analysis, an NPK analysis of this plant that we can share with our members, and probably we can share this as we grow. If we get enough members, we can make this open source. My ultimate intent is to make all of this open source content, but we need the membership support in order to do that.
Awesome. Listeners, we are going to work out a deal with Russell to feature some of his content and hopefully get you a deal on the membership over at chascience.com through the membership program that Jordan at Growcast and myself are about to launch. By the time you listen to this, we have launched it. It is at growpass.com, GROPASS.com. And you get lots of discounts with industry-leading representative companies, and hopefully a little bit of Russell's advanced knowledge here. So we're going to wrap this up and thank Russell for his time, but we're not going to let him go yet because we have 5 more questions to ask him for that bonus content that we were talking about. So head on over to thehomegrownhelpers.com/bonus and just give over your email address, and you can download the rest of that content or listen to it right there on the show or on the website. That's it for us, guys. Thanks so much. And thank you, Russell, for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time, and happy growing.
And that's how I like to end it. Happy growing, guys.